For Jamaica to become an elite global nation, its citizens have to become prosperous and must be in full control of their life, liberty, and their property. Jamaica, we must own the land that we were born on. It is important to understand that politicians are just human beings, just like you and I. Whether it be Andrew Holness, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Justin Trudeau, any leader you can name, they're just like you and I. They are no more sensible and no more educated than the citizens that they serve. They're not gods. They aren't better than you and I. So let me ask you a question. Why do they rule us in the country that we own? Why do they act like dictators even though they serve us? I have an even better question for you. Why do we allow them to do it? If you operate a business, you are the employer and you know how to run your business. So the employees act accordingly. If they don't, they lose their jobs. They report to you just as politicians are supposed to report to us, who are the people. This country, Jamaica, is ours. So why is it the other way around? Why aren't we educated on how our country operates and why our politicians behaving like and exalted as gods among the people? As citizens, we must take control of our own destiny. This also means being more educated on how our country is run and on how money operates. This is their starting point. This is how you become the boss in your own country so that the politicians take their rightful place as employees. So I'm going to introduce you to the UIC system, the system that will turn Jamaica into a global elite nation among the likes of Singapore and Sweden. Jamaica will become more free, more healthy, and more wealthy than all of these nations combined. Welcome to the initiative, episode 6 on UIC Liberty TV. My name is Devon Thompson and I am the UIC's Vice President. I'm glad that you are all here today. Joseph, our president, might be coming online with us later on to talk a bit about money and currency. But until then, I'm going to introduce you properly to the UIC's system of governance and what we plan to bring to the Jamaican people. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, this here is the UIC's website. This is our About Us page. And this page has most of what you need to know about the UIC. It's basically a summary of what we stand for. So you can see here where we start by saying that the UIC's vision is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. Our mission is to create a non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica that fully respects the sovereignty of every citizen by protecting their life, liberty, and their property equally. And that's important. It has to be protected equally. And it has to be done with a safe, clean, and orderly free market society where all may live, earn, and retire with dignity. The UIC may be summed up as individual liberty and personal responsibility, as we seek to guarantee every citizen their natural right to be both free and responsible at the same time. This means equal opportunity, equal rights, and equal justice for all. The key objective of the UIC is to liberate every single citizen from the divisive and oppressive colonial system of laws, regulations, and over-taxation. These have robbed our citizens of their right to freely earn, to freely learn, earn, and trade without government coercion, overreach, and corruption getting in the way of their progress. Our philosophy is that it is the natural right of every human being to be free. So most countries, have a Charter of Rights, and that Charter of Rights details the rights and freedoms of citizens. But it's important to understand is that it's not the Charter of Rights that gives us these rights. These rights are natural human rights. The Charter of Rights or the Constitution is just there to remind politicians that we have these rights. So let me continue. Therefore, the only moral justification and rightful purpose of government is the protection of your life, liberty, and property. Good governance is a system that protects our individual liberty, promotes personal responsibility, and provides all citizens a safe, clean, and orderly society. This is the sure foundation for a truly great and prosperous nation. This is how we're going to create this global elite nation that we're talking about. Okay, so now I spoke earlier about understanding how our system of governance work. So you have to understand everything from the Queen to the Prime Minister to Parliament, down to your members of Parliament. And this page here is basically explaining the difference between the colonial system that we have right now with the Queen and Governor General versus the non-partisan constitutional Republic of Jamaica. That's the UIC way, right? So I don't know if you can see this properly or clearly. I hope you can. Let me see. That might be better for you to see. So on the left, we have the UIC way, that's the non-partisan constitutional republic. And on the right, we have the constitutional monarchy, that's the colonial way. So the UIC system has a Jamaican head of state. The colonial system has a foreign head of state. So we say that the UIC system provides real independence to Jamaicans. And the colonial system provides fake independence. They make it seem as if Jamaica is independent when it's truly not. The UIC system says that the head of state and government is one position, but the colonial system says the head of state and government is two positions. What this is saying is that the UIC system has the president as head of state as well as head of government. In the colonial system, you have the Queen as head of state, and then you have the Governor General and the Prime Minister or whoever it is as head of government. Okay, so our system is less costly. We're not paying any Governor General, and their system is more expensive because they're paying the Governor General, you're paying the Prime Minister, you're paying the Governor General staff. I can't recall what it is that we pay the Governor General right now. So in the UIC system, the people directly elect the president and vice presidents. In the colonial system, political parties and the Governor General decides who can be the Prime Minister of Jamaica. So in our system, the UIC system, Jamaicans have the ability to directly elect the three vice presidents in our system: the vice president of Surrey, the vice president of Middlesex, and the vice president of Cornwall, as well as the president. So Jamaicans can directly elect these people. In the colonial system, you cannot do that. The colonial system, you elect MPs, and it's the Governor General that decides who becomes Prime Minister. So we say that the power is returned to the people under our system, and under the colonial system, the power is stolen from the people. So the UIC says that the people of each parish elects independent senators, reducing corruption. In the colonial system, the two major party leader gets to appoint these puppet senators, which result in massive corruption. So the senators are the ones who review the laws that are made by the House. So think about it this way: if you have the Prime Minister and the opposition deciding who senators are, you find that you might have a lack of accountability and an increase in corruption in that system. I'm going to explain that a little bit later with a graphical representation. So in the UIC system, the president nominates subject matter experts and ministers. The Senate and the House, the Senate vets them and the House votes them in. In the colonial system, the Prime Minister appoints the MPs and senators as ministers without having to justify those appointments. So there's no accountability in the colonial system, and there's more accountability in the UIC system. So in the UIC system, again, MPs and senators are not allowed to serve as ministers of government. Under the colonial system, MP and senators are allowed to serve as ministers of government. So this reduces any conflict of interest that's within the system, because now we have subject matter experts, a doctor being the Ministry of Health, a scientist being the Minister of Energy, whatever it is, all right? Subject matter experts for each of these departments. And then the MPs are nominated in the UIC system by the constituents and not by the political party. In the colonial system, MPs are selected by party hierarchy or delegates instead of the constituents. So you don't choose in any way at all who becomes the representative of your constituency. But in the UIC system, you get to choose. You get to nominate someone. So say that you have a business person or a community leader in your area that you think would be very good to be an MP or representative for a constituency. You as a citizen can nominate that person to become your MP, but you can't do that under this colonial system that we have today. Now, under the UIC system again, we have a publicly funded election campaign for all nominated electoral candidates. Under the colonial system we have today, big money determines who has the advantage. Big money determines who wins the election. So let me further explain that. We say that the UIC system is fair and economical. The colonial system is unfair and costly. So in the UIC system, I have a few people listening here. So if you wanted to run for MP, or you wanted to run as a senator, as a vice president, or as a president, you can do so without worrying about the money in your pocket. You can do so without worrying about where you're gonna get the money from to advertise your campaign or advertise what it is you stand for. So everybody stands on an equal footing. So you won't have the PNP or the JLP or the UIC or whoever it is overpowering your voice. Everybody has an equal representation and an equal voice to get their platform heard, to get their platform to all citizens in their constituency or citizens in Jamaica. So the UIC system is the system that Jamaica needs. The colonial system must be scrapped. Now, here is a graphical representation of the colonial system of governance. This is the system that we have right now, right today, the system that the JLP and the system that the PNP has been overseeing for the last, 70 years. Okay? Okay. So this graphical representation here shows the Queen of England at the top. So the Queen of England has the executive authority of Jamaica. She has the executive power of Jamaica, and she delegates that executive power to the Governor General, and then the Governor General allows the Prime Minister to utilize that power. So here at the top, you see the Queen of England's colonial constitution. Then we go down here, it says the people vote for MPs, partisan and privately funded campaigns. So the people don't vote for the Prime Minister, they vote for MPs. Okay? And down at the bottom here, it comes down to the 63 partisan members of parliaments who are elected by the people, of course. And then you have the leader of the opposition, who is the second place party leader. We have the Prime Minister on the left, and the Prime Minister and the leader of opposition appoints the 21 senators that we have right now. 11 of them are appointed by the Prime Minister, and 8 of them are appointed by the opposition. But the Prime Minister controls the majority of the senators. And remember, it's the senators who review the laws that are made by the House of Representatives. That's where the MPs are, the members of Parliament. Okay, so now you see here where it says the executive cabinet, the Prime Minister appoints partisan MPs and senators as ministers. So in the UIC system, I said before that it's actually the president who's going to be appointing the subject matter experts to become ministers of government, but it's the senators who are going to be approving them and the MPs who are going to be voting them in. Now, we see here where it says the winning party controls everything, and that's the source of corruption, because on the left, the prime minister controls the majority of the Senate. On the right, the prime minister controls the majority of the House. Okay? So, let's see what it says here. It says at the bottom here, ministers controlled by prime minister, executive and legislator not separated. And on the right, it says the judiciary is influenced by the prime minister and it's also not separated from the executive. So now you see where we have a problem here with corruption in Jamaica. This entire system here that we're looking at is a system designed to be corrupt. The system is designed this way. It's not broken. It's not broken and it can't be fixed. It has to be replaced. Now, this is the UIC's system of governance. This is the graphical representation of the UIC's system of governance. At the top, we have the UIC Constitution of Jamaica, the rule of law, instead of the Queen. Right? So now politicians have to report to the Constitution to ensure that the rule of law is being adhered to and not the Queen of England. At the bottom it says the people are sovereign. So we have a non-partisan, publicly funded campaign, and the politicians are directly elected by Jamaicans. We have 14 senators, we have 1 president, 3 vice presidents, 33 representatives, and these are your MPs. And the executive is the elected president with the 3 vice presidents plus the general secretary and treasury secretary who are appointed by the president. In the old system, the executive is actually controlled by the PM, who is controlled by the governor general, who is controlled by the Queen of England. Okay, at the bottom here it says that the MPs propose, debate, and vote on laws, and the senator vet nominees, recommend changes, as well as vote on the laws. Okay, and we have the government ministries here at the bottom in the green, the government ministries that implement the laws and public policies, and the orange here is the Supreme Court judges. You're going to see that it's completely separated from the legislator. At the top here, it says the judiciary is not separated from the legislator and the ministries are not separated. But in the UIC system, it is completely separated. Now, there's something you have to understand when it comes to the explanation of what a non-partisan constitutional republic is. In a non-partisan constitutional republic, you will have political parties. It's just that the political parties will not dominate the electoral process, because the process will allow individuals to have their voice heard at the same level as these political parties. So how do you get elected under the new system? First, the political candidates are required to pass good governance standardized tests, because it's important, not as citizens wanting to get involved in government, it's important as citizens in general to understand the basics of our governance system. Okay, so you have to pass good governance standardized tests, and the test includes civics, history, economics, maths, and communication. And then you'll be able to secure the vote commitment of a set number of nominators. And these are the people who are going to be nominating you to become MP for your constituency. And then you're going to go out and get their votes. Okay? And you receive equal paper, radio, TV, and internet publicity. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're going to have the same level of publicity as somebody who has $1 million or has $1 billion. Okay? And you receive equal access to public debates and discussion. Right now, in order for an individual or a political party to debate with the leader of the PNP or the leader of the JLP, you have to have won a certain amount of seats in the last election, and you have to have had a certain amount of votes in the last election, or you have to have polled, I think, above 5% in the year before the election is due. In our system, we get rid of all of that. Okay, everybody receives equal access to public debates and discussions. So these debates are going to be publicly vetted and fact-checked by qualified auditors. So, and then citizens can now vote with confidence. And then the candidate needs a majority of the votes casted to win. So this is the system that the UIC is proposing. This system will lead us to create what I call a global elite nation. And that's for Jamaica. However, there's one more aspect of this that we're missing. And that aspect is the monetary aspect. How do we implement this system within a free market, and how will we allow the free market to create this global power that we're talking about without infringing on the rights of citizens? For that, I have Mr. Joseph Patterson here with me to answer a few questions about the differences between money and currency, and why we need to understand how money works, how currency works, and how economics operates within Jamaica. Hi, Joseph. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks, Devon. Thank you for having me.
For some reason, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Maybe it's me. Let me see.
How is this? Any better?
Let me see here.
Yeah, let me know when you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I think everyone else can hear you.
Oh.
Because I see your bar on, it's just me, so you can go ahead and talk.
Really?
I'll just put my headphones in. I think that's the problem.
Okay. All right. So, what questions do you have for me, though? What's the question? Okay. So Devon cannot hear me, but I hope you can hear me. Devon, can you hear me now? Devon? Yeah, I don't want to start talking and he's not able to hear. Devon, can you hear me? Mr. Thompson, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hey, Joseph.
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Sir Thompson?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Wonderful. All right. You look like you're hooked up to a medical machine, but that's okay. So what questions do you have for me now?
Okay, so we're talking about money and we're talking about currency. How can we use the UIC system to implement a new monetary system and a new banking system in Jamaica? And why is it important that we understand how money works?
Wonderful. A key part of any nation is its monetary system. Right now in Jamaica, we have what is called a debt-based monetary system, which means that the economy is based on continuously borrowing. And as you know, Jamaica has been borrowing for some time now, to the point where we owe about $2 trillion and we have nothing to show for it. So what the UIC wants to do is to change the monetary system from a debt-based system to a system that is based on real money. What is real money? Well, first of all, you have to understand what is fake money. Fake money is what we have now, which is called a fiat currency. A fiat currency is simply a form of a medium of exchange which is controlled by the government but is not backed by anything. It is simply a matter of the wishes of the government and the faith people put in that money. Can you hear me? I see Bird's telling me that we have a problem with the connection. Okay,
I can hear you.
So right now we have a system whereby our government doesn't control our money. We are connected with the Bretton Woods system, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve Bank of the US, in connection with the World Bank and the IMF, where they for our money supply. A part of this is a design for the government to always have to borrow. Now, what this constant borrowing does, it brings new money into the system without that money being tied to the productivity of Jamaicans. So it means local Jamaicans who earn money. When you earn, say, $1 million today, and the government brings in new money by just borrowing some money and dumping it into the Jamaican economy through whatever mechanism it chooses. That new money, let's say another 10 million US, that new 10 million US simply reaches out and take a bit of the value of everybody else's money, because that money has not been earned. There's no production attached to it. So it reaches out and draws away a bit of the purchasing power of every Jamaican. How do you see this? You see this by the exchange rate of the Jamaican dollar falling, the value of the Jamaican dollar relative to the US dollar, for example, falling. Now, when that happens, all of the things that Jamaicans locally consumes automatically start to rise in prices. And over time, the Jamaican is unable to save for their retirement because this government inflation takes away the value and causes them not to be able to save for their retirement. So if you can't save for retirement, what do? You end up having to try for all kinds of creative ways to make enough money. So scamming, stealing, corruption, just to try to make up the difference. You do that, or you simply suffer and hope that when you retire, you'll get some government payout to help you to succeed or to exist until you become poor. The UIC changes all of that by having a truly authentic sovereign money, whereby every dollar that is in the Jamaican economy is backed by the Jamaicans. And the government cannot print more money without that money being attached to new production coming on. So it'll be a formula driven money. Okay, so you have a formula that says how is actual GDP spending coming along, and then it will drive up the money supply to match that. It's very important then that you have a real government banking system, not what we call a central bank today. Central bank today exists to facilitate the system I just spoke to you about. The new system of the UIC will require that the central bank's purpose will simply be to supply enough money to match the productive effort of the citizens. This will mean zero inflation rate policy and a zero deficit spending policy and a non-interference in the exchange rate market policy. What this will do is create a true market economy where, as the Jamaican people produce, their exchange rate will adjust according to their productive capacity and exporting, and not because our government is forced by international relationship to maintain what they call international reserves, which is money stolen from Jamaicans and placed in an account to meet the exchange rate demands of big businesses who then want the rate to be stabilized for the purpose of their importation and repurchase of international goods. Now, I'm talking a lot, but I really prefer to answer specific questions because much of this sometimes is difficult for people to understand without a pre-course in supply and demand economics.
Okay, so let's bring up an example. So we're talking about the value of our monies being lost. So, for example, I have $1 million in the bank. Over time, I'm losing value on that money because of government policies that create that unnatural inflation. So we know that when government has, for example, so quote unquote free healthcare or free education, the taxes that we pay cannot go towards those systems. It cannot maintain those systems. So you find that the government begins to borrow against the Jamaican people to pay for those systems. So my question to you, and I think a lot of people have been asking this question as well, is how would the UIC system from a monetary standpoint interact with the healthcare as well as the education system in Jamaica?
Okay, wonderful. So first of all, Devon, let's understand that the economy of Jamaica can pay for all of the things that Jamaicans need and want and are prepared to work and pay for. The idea behind current misinformed politics is that somehow government is to produce something that the citizens don't pay for. So you have a set, they identify a set of citizens and they call them the poor. And they constantly tell us that the way they're going to work is they're going to find a way to miraculously give the poor something without any cost to the poor, which is not feasible. What you want is an economy where every single citizen knows that in order for you to have education, healthcare, and housing, and food, and all these things, it has to be earned. People have to work and produce and earn and pay for these things. So the UIC model of education, for example, is this. Rather than saying that education is free, right? We won't call education free. We won't call healthcare free. We won't tell our citizens that anything is free. Instead, what we're going to do is say to our citizens, here's the model on which we're going to provide education. Every single child must be accorded a decent education because we have to invest in our children so that they can grow up. For what purpose? To be productive so that they can then pay for the continuation of good education for the children who come behind them. So while the government will charge every citizen 10% GCT, 10%, and use that GCT to help the poorest child to get the same quality education as the richest child. So if a child is in a rich family, the rich family can buy very good education. The child is in a poor family, the poor family cannot buy very good education. So the GCT will help the poor family to buy very good education. But we're going to say to the parents, let's look at your contribution to this. Are you working to your maximum capacity to help to pay for this? So we'll have a works program to help these parents to continuously seek to improve their skills, improve their earning capacity, and pay what they can towards the education. While the very rich will also, by their purchases, will be helping to pay for this education. The same thing for healthcare. Now, when you have what we have today, which is called a universal free education policy, what that does, it then tries to spread the limited amount of dollars we have across every single student, which is unfair. What the government needs to do is to only pay for the students who need that financial support. And we create a cap on the taxes so that the government doesn't continuously run inefficient programs, inefficient schooling, inefficient hospitals, and then continuously tax us more and more to try to pay for these inefficiencies. We shift to a market system which is more efficient and at the same time have targeted support for those who are truly poor and can't afford it.
And we see now where the system is actually failing, in the education system where so many children are failing out. And then we see in our healthcare system, last year, almost a year ago, one of Jody and Farron died on
Yes.
the floor in a hospital. And then recently, another young lady died because the University of the West Indies rejected her. Right, she died at Andrews Memorial. So there are a
Mhm.
lot of people who are saying that we should keep this system and try to fix it. But how can we fix something that wasn't meant to be in the first place and wasn't meant to be even operational in the first place?
Yeah. The problem is, Devon, which our citizens need to understand, there's a difference between public goods and private goods. Let me ask you a question. Should the government provide us food? Should the government buy our grocery for us?
No, definitely not.
Right, because that's a private good. That's
Mhm.
something you and I should go and work for and buy what we need or produce what we need and eat it. Should the government provide us clothing? Should it go and give us clothing? No, that's a personal, private good. What we need to understand, education is a private good. It is something that the family is supposed to buy for the family. Healthcare is a private good. It's a product that the family is supposed to buy for the family. What are public goods? Public goods are the things we all share now. So, for example, the road. You can't have your own road, because if each of us were to build our own road, that would be untenable, impossible. We don't have enough land for that. We don't have enough money for that. So we said the road is a public good because we all have to share the road. But you and I don't have to share your health. Your health is your health. Now, when you make healthcare free and make and say all these things to people, what it does, it diminishes their personal responsibility. It takes away from their mind that it is their job to make sure that they eat right, exercise, and take care of their bodies so that the cost of breakdown will be less. It also takes away their responsibility of saving for future events. For example, buying health insurance. Now, when you have government programs like universal healthcare, it competes with the private care and drives up the cost of private insurance, because you have less people now going to buy private insurance and a lot of people hoping to get a free ride from the government healthcare system. Now, if you flip it around and tell everybody, teach us all, it's your job to take care of yourself. It's your job to plan for your health. It's your job to save for these expenses or to buy insurance. Then what you're going to have happening, you're going to have now no government program except what the UIC puts in, which is a minimal program to just help the most needy person who, they fall down on their luck. And more of us now will realize the value of A, taking care of our health, and B, purchasing healthcare insurance if that's what we want to do. For example, in my family, I lived in Canada for a number of years, as you know. In my entire years in Canada, I have used the healthcare system about less than 1%. Why? Very early in my life, my wife and I decided that we wanted to lead a healthy lifestyle. So we practice health, natural health, healing, natural healing, eating, a vegan diet and all of these things. Now, we're not saying everybody should do that. We're saying this is our choice. Now, because we made those choices, we ended up with needing the healthcare system very, very minimally. Like when I say minimally, I mean almost like never, right? But we had to pay for that for somebody else, even though we're taking optimal health. While another person now may decide they'll break all the rules of health. They will eat anything they want, don't exercise, don't make any good choices, but they know that the government is telling them that we will be covering you. We have to change that. We need to give people a sense of personal ownership and responsibility, while at the same time having a system in place for should you break, should after you've done the best that you can, something goes wrong, there is a minimal system there to help you across the finish line.
And Joseph, two things. So the first one is this. I always say to people, if the government is taking a certain amount of money from the population and a certain amount of the population is not using that system, what are they doing with the money? Because technically, if everybody in the system, in the population was in the system, then the system would be broke. There would be no money.
Yes.
But right now, like majority of people don't use the healthcare systems.
Correct.
So is it the healthcare system does not have enough money to expand or deal with capacity? For example, for the COVID-19 pandemic, it doesn't make it.
It's very simple, Devon. Nobody spends somebody else's money as carefully as you would spend your own. So here's the difference between public and private in anything. You see, government is only suited for taking care of things that you and I can't own for ourselves. Once you create a product of government, for a product where each of us can consume it for ourselves, you now change the economic relationship. You create artificial demands or high levels of inefficiencies. So when you go to a hospital today, a public hospital, there's no reason for the nurse and doctors to respect or care for you. Why? Because their jobs are not on the line if they treat you poorly, because it's not a private hospital. They have no vested interest to treat you like a valued customer. because one, they're overburdened. Okay, so when you make something free, the demand for it goes up. So if you say today we have free phones, like, and it's a good phone, like a very good, let's say a good phone, whatever it is, that's a good phone is today. If you say we have free phones, you will have many people coming for it. If you say the phone is $100, you reduce the number of persons coming for it. You say the phone is $500, you reduce the number of persons coming for it. So once you have this idea of a private good being free, you're going to have an oversubscription, and you're going to have a lack of care in the administration, which is why, even though our government takes in $800 billion, $800 billion, it still is not able to provide quality public services because there's no need to. There's no competition with the government for take school education. Private schools in Jamaica, the price of private school has to be high because only a few people will be going to them for the product. Public school takes up the bigger share of the education space, and most people will go for that because it is supposed to be free. It's not really free because the government is taking taxes from everybody, rich and poor, is taking your money from you and restricting your choices. It takes away the poor person's money and say, you will now go to the school that we send you to. The UIC system is the flip of that. The government will say, you choose which school you want to go to. And if you're poor, the money will follow you. So if you want to send your child to this particular school or that particular school, the money will go where you, the parent, chooses, not where we, the government, decides. Why is that so important? Today, under the government system that we have today, the government is able to manipulate education and decide what children learn and produce the outcomes that it wants. So the Jamaica you see today is the outcome of what the government wanted over the last 75 years. They have trained the people to be. So when we have, like last week, I think you were talking about dancehall music and so on, and I was making the point. No, the people are the product of what the masters of the countries have produced. The masters control the education system. The masters control the economic system, and they guide and direct and cajole and shape the people. So when we see so many Jamaicans today are undereducated, underskilled, poor financially, many can't communicate effectively, can't do math properly, can't reason effectively. These are all the outcome of the government system. And we need to remember that. The people of Jamaica are not just making themselves. They were shaped by their leaders, shaped by the government that has been guiding us and saying, here's how you should think. Even the media, the rich who own our media, they have been shaping the Jamaicans' mentality by what they put on the media. So for example, today, everybody is being scared by COVID, by the media. The media doesn't allow room for alternative medicine. It doesn't say, oh, here, if it's alternative, they block it and say, don't trust them. You can only trust these foreign companies that we don't know what they're doing. We don't have a clue what they're doing, but we're told by an international body called the World Health Organization. We don't even know who they are really, who, but they tell us that this is okay. And our leaders do not question it. Our leaders don't have any counterbalancing measures, nothing at all. They just take it lock, stock, and barrel and bring it to us and say, here you go, this is right for you. Just like they did with agriculture. In agriculture, they came to the farmers because they controlled farming in Jamaica. And they said, come here, farmers, here are free seeds. Now, these are GMO seeds, which are going to mess up our own indigenous seeds and compromise them, right? But the government, the politicians come and say, here are free seeds. And the farmers, not knowing what is being done to them, just take the free seeds. Then they said, here's free fertilizer. Now, these are fertilizers that are going to deplete the soil and cause the farmers to become dependent on these fertilizers and dependent on the pesticides. But it's the government that pushed these things. And when it became too expensive now for the farmers to farm because the input cost is too high, the free one was okay initially, but over time, they now need to pay for it. They can't pay for it. And so gradually, We kill our farming, and what's happening now? Most of our food, or a lot of our food, is being imported because the government policy have killed the farmers. Now, if we had a free market, what would have happened? If we had a free market, farmers who couldn't get free seed and free fertilizer would have continued to pursue organic farming. And farmers who now have more money would go and buy, if they wanted to, buy free, buy not free, they would go and buy the bad seeds, GMO seeds, and the bad fertilizer. They would have seen the good yield initially, and then gradually the decline in their yields and the increase in their costs until they're out of business. While the organic farmer would have seen, oh, it's a good thing we never follow them. It's a good thing we never have the money to follow them. Look how my pumpkin's still doing good. Look how my this, and they would now be having a higher quality product, which they could then be offering on the international market. See, we have stayed clear of those pesticides and herbicides. We're now the king of organic produce, and Jamaica will be on the map as the king of organic production. But instead, what are we? We're not on the map. We're being taken off the map completely as our farming sector shrinks from not being able to keep up with the cost of artificial farming, and the imports continue to flow in. And then we have the politicians blaming the farmers, saying, oh, you need to do better, when they were the ones that came and introduced, being backed by outside forces, introduced the bad things and got us dependent and hooked on the bad things, and then blame us for it. I know I've said a lot of words, but I hope you get the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I know you don't have much time left. So yeah. So back to the point you made about the COVID-19 pandemic and the World Health Organization and the government. So a lot of people don't understand, why is it that doctors and nurses aren't speaking out? If something strange is going on, they don't understand why they're not speaking out. And one of the reasons why they're not speaking out is because these doctors and nurses are tied to doctors and nurses organizations. So if they open their mouth, they could lose their license. So you have to be very, very careful about the things that you're taking from media and the things that you're taking. So
you make a good point, Devon. Here's what happened. The more the government takes over even the medical profession, by one, licensing, and two, owning the facilities in which they work, people are afraid to speak because they can easily fire you. Now, if let's imagine you had a free market medical system, then each of these medical facilities would be free to speak, because they wouldn't have the risk of saying this body, which is controlled by the government, will pull their license, or this hospital, the massive amount of our hospital is publicly owned, so if I say anything, they will just pull fire me from my job. So we have to be careful, and I know many of us have grown used to the idea of having this massive amount of government control of our system and society. That is dangerous, because it then takes away the freedom of speech that we have. So yeah, back to you.
Yeah. So recently I found a video on YouTube. It's back to this healthcare, the free healthcare thing. Doctors in the US, they're fed up with the insurance system, public system. So what they did, they went around and they created something. They created something called a direct healthcare system, where people actually pay the amount similar to a Netflix subscription for healthcare. So you have people paying $50 to $100 a month for healthcare, and they get every single thing that you can imagine. So if we allow the free market to innovate, I believe the cost of healthcare will drop dramatically, where you don't have to make it public. I know the other thing that is nonsensical in our healthcare system, education system, whatever it is, and it's going to move on to another point, is that the government pays for the healthcare of billionaires and millionaires. It pays for the education of these people. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you take a poor man's money? Why would you take my money, right, to pay for the education and healthcare of the rich person? So no, it leads me to a question, because some people don't understand the differences. Some people believe that when you have a free market economy, there is no such thing as a social program. Roads are going to be free market, light, everything will be free market. So people don't understand the difference between social programs and socialism.
Right. Now, here's the thing. The issue that people have is what I talked about earlier on, which is public good versus private goods. There, in every society, you have public goods and services. So there are things that the government must do and should do, and only the government can do. And then you have private goods. Where we get mixed up is that we have drifted away from the true responsibility of government and drifted into government as a charity. What is a charity? A charity is there to deal with cases where a person wants a private good but can't afford it. So, for example, I am hungry. I've lost my job. I can't earn for whatever reason, or I'm not able to earn for whatever reason. And a charity comes along and opens a soup kitchen and gives me food, right? It's my job to get my own food, but my circumstances result in me not being able to get that food. So they open a charity. Now, suppose we say the government should have taken care of that, and we take more taxes. Over time, what happens is charities get less and less and less and less and less. And the demand for government to do charity gets bigger and bigger and bigger, which leads to more pain because the government cannot effectively administer charity. Here's why. First of all, for the government to give one bowl of soup to somebody, it needs to write a law, it needs to find an office, it needs to put in desk and chairs and air condition and papers and ink, and provide cars for the CFO and CEO. And so that one bowl of soup now, instead of costing $1.50 that the little charity would have cost for it to be, that one bowl of soup now costs $20. And for you now to give to all the people who need soup, your budget would have to become massively big. So here what they do. The people in their minds become expectant of government to do it, so more people are left to suffer because the government can't reach all of them. And so people are left to suffer, while guess what happened? Somebody gets rich now with a job that they otherwise wouldn't have, a car that they otherwise wouldn't have from that process. Now, if we want to fix the problem, we move government into doing what it should do. Suppose government made Jamaica very safe, Devon. Suppose government made Jamaica very, very safe. It means many more people can run a small business and hire somebody because they're safe. They can now, like, for example, when I go to my farm and look, I have to fret every day that somebody will go there and thief all my pumpkins, them, and my plant. Just like how the other day they went and stole my goats. No, I bought my goats, I raise them, I feed them, I create pen for them and all of that, and pay somebody to care for them. Then somebody just goes and steal it. Suppose more people didn't have to worry about that. They could raise more goats, raise more chicken, and so less people will be in need of charity. Suppose government made the country very, very clean. So it's a clean environment that made people feel good and engaged and motivated. More people are working and producing. Now, it's supposed government, Devon, like the UIC is suggesting, take only 10% of your income in income taxes and 10% of your sales taxes and leave you with the 80, 90% of your money to spend. Now you can join your local community group and build your charitable organization and foundations. And because you're closer to the problem, as soon as Miss Matty gets sick, there's a community group that's there that can help Miss Matty with something. Or if a little boy get hurt and the parents can't afford something. So you have no community coming together. The environment you now see where we're almost like strangers now. Nobody cares about each other. It's everybody just by themselves. The community would come back because now people have more money, those who can work productively, more money to decide which charity they want to help. But by making people poor and mentally depending on government for the solution to their local community problems, then you have less help for the poor and more estrangement and less community, less coming together. So the UIC system will flip all of that and cause us to become communities again. Give us money to be able to share again. There's nothing like when you and I reach into our own pockets and decide to help a particular cause. rather than government just taking it from us and leaving us without our money to be able to help who we want to help.
Yes, and I know you don't have much time left, but one final
6
thing.
minutes.
So yeah, so the title of the show is "Can Jamaica Become a Global Elite Nation under that free market economy system that we're talking about?" And the answer,
Absolutely.
yes, the answer is yes, right?
And here's why. Here's
Mhm.
why, Devon. We're not just talking about a free market. What you explained earlier, you showed us a model of governance that ensures proper checks and balances with the people, the individual being sovereign at the top, not a queen anymore, a governor general, but the individual is being made supreme. The family becomes important again. The community becomes important. And your politicians are not gangsters anymore. You have a proper checks and balances between the executive, between the Senate, and between the House of Representatives. And you have qualified persons hired to run the ministries that we're talking about. You have a separation of the justice system and the legislative system, and you have a quality public service now being offered, a safe country, a clean country, an orderly country, at the same time undergirded by a true freedom, which we call a free market. Without a free market, you cannot have freedom. So anybody who thinks you can have a free society without a free market, that's an oxymoron. People
And
must be free to trade if they're going to be free as individual.
I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and he was speaking about democratic socialist nations. And I responded and I said, "There's no such thing. There's no such thing as democratic socialism
Yeah,
because the two words don't come together. The two
yeah.
words mesh.
It's like saying capitalistic dictatorship.
It don't, right? Because
Yeah,
there's no freedom in socialism. You're not
yeah.
free to spend your money how you spend it.
No,
Free to run your business how you want to run your business,
yeah. The
right?
government just comes in and take it. Like right now in Jamaica, the government takes 40% of GDP.
Mhm.
40%. And what do we get for it? We get a very unsafe society. In Canada, it's about the same. Canada takes roughly about 40% of your GDP. But yet still in Canada, they have a safer country. In Jamaica, we are very unsafe. So 40%. And what do you do with it? So what we have for Jamaica to be a great country, we
Mhm.
have to shift our focus from government to the individual, to the member of society. Shift from government being in control to you being in control of your life. And government now as your servant, not just your servant, a collective servant. So what it's saying is the government saying, listen, Joseph's life is precious, just like Devon's, just like Marie. And we're going to make sure that Joseph's life is protected. Every citizen's life is protected. Every citizen's freedom is protected, and every citizen's property rights are protected. And by doing that, you liberate every individual to be as creative, as productive, as innovative as they possibly can be. And at the same time, if anybody falls through the cracks, there's a minimum level of support. You know what I love about the UIC, Devon? We have capped taxes at 10%. So no government will ever be able to increase our taxes ever again. They
Mhm.
must, like you and me, live within their means. They can't simply become more bloated, more inefficient, and more corrupt, and then charge you and me with the bill.
Yeah.
So somebody thieves some money and they just charge Joseph for that.
Mhm.
We have to stop that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Joseph. Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you. My
I'm
pleasure.
let you go.
All the best. All the best. Take care and thanks for having me.
No problem. So you heard it there from the president of YC, Mr. Joseph Patterson. Thanks for joining us. And back to the healthcare system a bit. So recently, a young lady died at Andrews Memorial, I believe, after she was turned away from the university hospital of the West Indies. Now, apparently, they either didn't have enough beds or didn't have enough equipment. But here's the thing: we are all taxpayers, whatever country it is that we're located in. If you're in Canada, if you're in the US, if you're in Jamaica, we are all taxpayers. When we pay our money into a system, whether it be a private system or a public system, we expect to get top level services. No, it is expected that if we're paying tax into the public health care system, that we receive like amazing service, right? So this young lady, when she went to the University Hospital of the West Indies, her tax dollars should have saved her life because she paid for the service that she was going to the hospital to get. Yes, the University Hospital of the West Indies is a public owned hospital. So is the Kingston Public Hospital. They're all public owned hospitals. So the University Hospital of the West Indies does get some of its profit from private fees, but it's subsidized up to, I believe, 70 to 80%. Right? So when you go to the hospital to get life-saving treatment, you should get it. There should not be any excuses. Oh, we don't have any money. No, it doesn't work. Oh, we don't have any beds. Oh, we don't have any asthma pumps. It doesn't work. If I pay for something, I expect to get it, right? And if you're going to tell me that the government is doing the best that it can, then I don't disagree. I don't agree with that because that's a complete lie. And if it is doing the best that it can, we have to scrap the system. If this is the best that the government can offer in education and in health, we have to scrap that system and replace it with a system by the people for the people. And we're talking about a free market system right here. So you have to understand, some people say, okay, oh, JLP, PNP, government, Canada, whatever it is, we want you to fix the economy. It's important to understand that government cannot fix the economy. They can destroy it, sure, but they can't fix it. The only people that can fix the economy is you and I. It's us as individuals, as free individuals in the market. When I start a business and I employ 50 people, it is me that is producing and giving back to the economy, not the government. The government cannot produce. The government cannot spur the economy. If it does, it's artificial. And what you're gonna find happen is that your currency is gonna be devalued and the money in your bank is gonna be devalued. Which is why the UIC says that the government of Jamaica or any government should be limited to the equal protection of life, liberty, and property. And when I say limited, we tell the government what it can do, and we tell the government what it can't do. Because if you tell the government what it cannot do without telling the government what it can, the government will go outside of its bounds. The U.S. Constitution was the first great experiment on liberty, on freedom, but it failed. And the reason why the U.S. Constitution failed is because it told the government what it can't do, but it did not tell the government what it can do. So you have to limit the power of government. Otherwise, it will keep going outside the bounds of its roles and responsibilities. And that's what the UIC system does. The UIC's non-partisan constitutional republic limits the government. Okay? And we talk about freedom. We say that the life, liberty, and property of citizens must be protected equally. Is that so today in the system that we have? Is that so? In the Jamaican Constitution right now, it says that all Jamaicans have a right to life, liberty, and security of the person, right? Unfortunately, it's not equal. For example, with we have multiple cases that can prove that. One of the biggest cases is the X6 incident, where he killed a young high school student from Kingston College. I used to go to Kingston College too. My ring is right here, right? So a case like that, because the shooter had the wealth that he has, he was able to breeze through the justice system. Politicians are able to breathe through the justice system. But if you're poor, if you don't have access to resources, the justice system will hammer you. It will destroy you. What the UIC is saying is that whether you are poor, whether you are rich, whether you are disenfranchised, whatever it is, you must have access, equal access to the justice system. Okay? If the government steps on your constitutional rights, your right to life, liberty, and property, that's your charter of rights, you must have access to the court system to challenge the government or challenge the government body that is stepping on your rights to life, liberty, and property. It's important that whatever country you are in, if you're in the US, if you're in Canada, if you're in Jamaica, if you're in Germany, it's important that you read your Charter of Rights. Because if you don't read it, government will continue to step on it. Government will continue to abuse your rights. In Canada recently created a new rule that said that anybody coming into Canada must quarantine at a hotel, okay? Not at home, at a hotel, okay? For a minimum of 3 days. And if you're positive, it's 14 plus 3, okay? Now, citizens who read their Charter of Rights and who understand it flew into Canada, and the Canadian government tried to force them to do a PCR test and tried to force them to quarantine. But here's the thing. The Canadian Charter of Rights says that you have a right not to be arbitrarily detained by government. It also says you have a right not to be force tested with putting anything into your body. And it also says you have a right to enter and leave Canada. So what happened is you have Canadian citizens entering Canada, quoting these 3 rights and saying, if you abuse any of these 3 rights, I am going to call the police and accuse you of kidnapping and accuse you of assault. So with them doing that, they were able to leave the airport without being tested, without quarantining, and without being detained. Okay, so I'm talking about this not to say that you should go out there and avoid COVID-19 rules or policies, whatever it is. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that you have to know what your rights are. Okay, if you don't know it, government will trample on your rights. And this is how we create this global elite nation that we're talking about. We have to educate each other. We have to educate people. We have to know how our economy works. We have to know how money works. We have to know how the system of governance works. I explained in previous videos how our system works, even in this video, and I explained what the new system would look like. Winston, I see you there. You're saying that Jamaicans have similar rights and we don't know how to use these rights. You are very much correct. Right now, Jamaica is under a state of emergency. The Prime Minister is using emergency powers under the Constitution to suspend certain rights. But here's the thing. The Prime Minister can only suspend certain rights if he can prove that his actions are demonstrably justifiable in a free and democratic society. Okay, and this is where access to the justice system is important. Now we know, and this is facts, by the way. You can go and check this out, right? We know that, for example, PCR tests don't identify live viruses, and we know that the psychothresholds used for PCR tests varies and creates different what's the word? It creates multiple variables. So if you have a high psychothreshold, almost all the time when you test somebody for COVID-19, they're going to test positive. If you have a low psychothreshold, almost if it's too low, almost every time when you test someone, it's going to be negative. So you have to get to the right psychothreshold to see if the person does have COVID-19. But here's the thing. Even if the person does have COVID-19, the PCR test, especially if the person is asymptomatic and is not showing any symptoms, the PCR test cannot tell whether the person had COVID-19 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or whatever it is. No, it cannot tell if you're infected with the virus right now. The only thing it says is that it might have identified the genetic sequence for the virus. Okay, so now that we know that how the PCR tests work and how they operate, and now that we know that the positive values and even the negative values might not be correct, how is it that curfews and lockdowns and restrictive government policies in Jamaica are demonstrably justifiable in a free and democratic society? Is it justifiable to punish citizens for tests or for using tests that aren't proven to be 100% accurate? Because if you look at the amount of deaths in Jamaica, I think it's around 400 deaths. I don't remember how many cases, but they're saying right now that Jamaica's cases are crazy, right? They're saying that I see Winston says that, well said, psycho threshold should be at about 25. Yes, I believe that they're saying that 25 should be the correct psycho threshold, right? 25 to 30. And most governments are using 40 and 45. Okay? 20 and 25 will definitely show if you had if you had the virus and if you don't have it. But if you use 40 and 45, it cannot in any way at all determine if you have COVID-19 right now. It cannot. Okay? So our positive cases in Jamaica might not be correct. And here's the thing, the lockdowns and the curfews and all that stuff, they are not because of the positive cases. The positive cases could go to 1 billion. Well, it can't go to 1 billion in Jamaica. We have 3 billion population. I said the positive cases go to 1 million in Jamaica, right? But the death rate remains the same, for argument's sake. Okay? The lockdowns and the curfews aren't a result of the COVID-19 cases. They are a result of the healthcare system being over capacity. They are afraid that the healthcare system might fail. That is the reason for the lockdowns and the curfews and the government policies, not COVID-19. Their reason is because they're afraid the healthcare system will fail. Is that a good enough reason in a free and justifiable democratic society to restrict the rights of Jamaicans? Wouldn't it be better for the Jamaicans to use the billions of dollars it's wasting? Listen, Jamaica loses 750 million US dollars per year due to corruption. And Jamaica is spending millions more on vaccines. Wouldn't it make more sense to use that money to fund the so-called public healthcare system to ensure that capacity is there to manage COVID-19 patients? Wouldn't that make more sense than shutting down the economy and destroying people's life because you're afraid that the healthcare system will fail? Is that reasonable? And the answer is no, which is why so many people across the world are taking governments to court, because governments have admitted that COVID-19 cases are not the reason for the lockdowns, the curfews, and the restrictive government policies. They have confirmed that. They've confirmed this is the hospital. And this is why people are winning cases in their own Supreme Courts. I wonder if we understand what I say. Let me see what these comments are saying. So Winston says here, it's fraud. The Andrew Holness-led government is afraid people will know the truth of their deception. They are making us afraid for that and crime fighting. No, it's not. So it's 3.2 billion Jamaican dollar on this mess. Okay, and then Cernet is saying, how can something fail that was not there in the first place? The healthcare system had failed. You're correct. Cernet, it's not funny. It's not funny, but I have to laugh. You're right. Right? How can it fail when it never operated in the first place? How? Right? The healthcare system failed a long time ago, and that is why enough Jamaicans are leaving Jamaica, you know. Because they're afraid that if they end up in an accident, a car accident, fire truck don't have no jaws of life. Okay? Them shot the ambulance. By the time the ambulance reach you, you pass away. If the ambulance, even if the fire truck even do have jaws of life and cut you to the car, even if the ambulance do show up and pick you up, you reach at the hospital, them turn away because them not have no bed. Or them don't have the equipment necessary to save your life. This has been happening for years and years and years and years and years. And there has been no change. So Cernet, how can we expect for there to be change today. Earlier in the video, I said that politicians are humans, just like you and I. Okay, why is it that we put politicians on these pedestals to become quote unquote dictators over our lives? Right? Are they more knowledgeable than you and I? What does the prime minister know more about things versus you, Winston, versus you, Cernet? I see Camille here, right? Are they more knowledgeable than you and I? Can we not have access to the same knowledge that they have access to? So why do we put them in such power to dictate our lives? Why do we not funnel that power back down to the citizens so that we can use our own education, our own knowledge to protect and defend ourselves? We think that Prime Minister Andrew Holness or Minister of Health can manage a healthcare system. Our Minister of Health is a doctor, but he's not a medical doctor. He's not a medical doctor. He's not a subject matter expert. Yet for some reason, we believe that his word has weight. I remember I said it earlier before, doctors are afraid to speak. They are afraid to talk because if they talk, they lose their licenses. If they speak out, they lose their job. Somebody said, they always make fun of people and say, oh, how is it that somebody's controlling all the doctors in the world and all the doctors in the world are saying and doing the same thing? It is entirely possible because all the government system is set up. You have government, then you have ministry, okay? And then under ministry, you have the different branches who govern the licenses of doctors. Why on earth would a doctor speak out against the system that employs them and the system that controls their contracts? I see Winston is saying the UIC will take this government to court because God-given and rights are sacred to us. The Paulette Elizabeth Ingram. Hi, Paulette. How are you doing? So Paulette says the healthcare system must do better. They need to build more medical facilities to care for the people of Jamaica. Paulette, here's the thing. Jamaica cannot afford to manage the healthcare system that we have right now, much less to build another one. The country cannot afford it. And it's not because the country is poor, that's not the reason. Canada cannot afford its healthcare system either. The United States of America, they cannot afford their healthcare system. Their systems are so expensive that the tax system cannot pay for it. So you know what they do? They take out loans. Okay? They take out loans to fund the healthcare system. And then our taxes now go towards financing those loans, paying down those loans. Right? And whenever government takes out loans and don't pay it back, because they take out loans at interest, right? And don't pay it back, what you find is that the money that we have in the bank is devalued. That's how we get inflation, and that's how the Jamaican dollar keeps being devalued. Okay? So Paulette, there is no amount of medical facilities that we can build to fix the system in Jamaica because Jamaica can't afford it. The best thing that we can do is slowly, of course, transition over to a free market system where citizens, where doctors, nurses, etc., can create or start their own mini healthcare facilities and offer services to Jamaica competitively. One of the reasons why it's so expensive and people can't afford it is because it's not competitive. So you can go ahead and start your own medical facility in Jamaica right now, but is it competitive? Right? Cernet says a change of government with a positive mission can bring change in Jamaica. UIC, for example, with the help of Jamaicans, will be able to bring this change. Yes, UIC is running in the next general election. Okay, and the UIC will win. Listen, are you angry? Are you angry? Because I'm angry. Okay, I'm angry because the levels of crime in Jamaica, the amount of people that are dying, children are dying, women are dying, the elderly are dying, men are dying because of crime in Jamaica. And apparently, majority of the crime aren't even gang related. It's stupid, simple disputes like a garbage under somebody's window. Not gang related. So it seems like gang related crimes are possibly either going down or has been stagnant, or it's just that domestic crimes are just on the rise. I know we have to go back to the education system and look at that and talk about that, because the education system has a lot to do with it. Okay, when we were going to school, right? Did they teach us about economics? Listen, they tax us, right? They tax the percentage of our income to fund the government. Okay, when we leave school, and start a business or go into the world, do we know how to file our taxes? Do you know how to file your taxes? Huh? Them not teach we, none of them something there. Them not teach we how to be a citizen. Them just spit you out just like that for go and buy a business. Them not teach you how to be a citizen of Jamaica. Them not teach you how to do taxes. Them not teach you how to understand economics. Them not teach you none of them something there. Right? You not have no psychologists in the school them for talk to the youth them and say, hey, listen, I know that many of you grow up in abusive homes. Many of you are on the streets and seeing death and seeing violence. Listen, lots of children in Jamaica experience these things, you know, and lots of you here right now listening to this might have experienced it too. As a youth going to high school, right? Me always have it in my head say, yo, when everybody start run, me have to run too, because me know say somebody I rap somebody or somebody I kill somebody. It normalized, right? Violence is normalized. High school youth I walk up and down with ratchet, with knife. It normalized, right? What kind of country we have to live in for high school pitney after you walk with weapon for defend themselves? What kind? You angry? Because me angry, I am pissed off and I am mad. Of course, when I was in high school, me never know no better, right? Many of us in high school never know no better. Seeing? But now I'm looking to it. I travel, I go Canada, I go US, I'm see I'm see on TV high school kids in these first world countries are how they're behaving, right? Them like them not after run from thief or come from school. Them not after hide them phone and afraid to somebody rob them a road. Them not after take off them chain or take off them ring or take off them watch and just bear, just uniform. Can't wear the latest. Remember one time, Jansport was the thing. You wear Jansport. The man them cut the Jansport off of your back. Cut it off of your back. Your school bag. Throw out your school book them and gone with the Jansport. Sew it up back and sell it. I them think them he grew up in a. Is that okay? Looking back to it, I am pissed off. I never like. I wasn't supposed to grow up in an environment like that. What kind of environment that for grow up in a? And it get worse today. It is much worse. And we need a psychologist in our school them for talk to the youth them and break the cycle. That Winston Wright said a while ago. Break the cycle. Because we have a psychological issue in Jamaica. We have a lot of mad people in a clean clothes. Okay? We have mental issues ravaging our nation, ravaging Jamaicans. But we're not doing anything about it. We're using force, not service. We're using force to attack the issue. We should be using service. Okay? A few years ago, I was driving in Britain, Portmore. right? And a bus hit a car at the JUTC building across from the Texaco gas station at Portmore Britain, and like the bus turned over and fell on top of the car. Right, there was a father and a son in that vehicle. I have the videos. I have the video still because some people were videoing it. It's on YouTube, right? People were trying to push the bus off of the car because there was some leeway to push it off. So people were trying to push it up, push off the bus off of the car. I was there too. All of it there, lots of people there trying to help these two gentlemen get them out of the car. 1 hour past, them still in the car. We hear them a cry. You know how painful that is? Listen to two men crying in one car, dying, want help. And 1 hour pass, and fire truck, an ambulance can't reach. When the fire truck reach, you know what them say to it? Them not have no jaws of life, and them not have no equipment to lift the bus off of the car. The men were in that car crying, father and son, crying. The firemen were there walking around, hands like this. We don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do. We don't have no equipment. Right? Ambulance show up. Ambulance can't do nothing either. What ambulance can do if they can't reach the people? Ambulance can't do nothing. Police show up. Police can't do nothing. So you know what happened? The father and the son died in that car. They died because the fire truck did not have the resources needed to save the life of that taxpayer. That taxpayer who paid money into the system. You angry yet? Because me angry. Very, very angry. I've been angry for a very long time. I used to work at Kingston Container Terminal as an equipment operator. I have an old high school friend. She used to go Alpha, because I used to go Kingston College, right? And she was driving on the toll road. And I think she came around to the wharf side, and I don't know what happened. She was in an accident, right? And a car got crushed. And she was there alive in the car, crying for her life. All know the fire truck can't reach. When the fire truck reach, no jaws of life. Them cannot take her out of the vehicle. She died in that car, right in front of the building that I was working at the time. Somebody I knew died right there. A tax-paying citizen who paid money to ensure that a fire truck has the jaws of life died right there. I have another bridging. I went to Kingston College with this bridging. A very close friend, one of my closest friends, growing up in high school. He moved to Montego Bay. I think it was in 2017 or 2016 this happened. I can't remember right now. Right? One of my closest friends, his name was Anthony Ross. You can Google his name right now. His name is Anthony Ross. He used to go to Kingston College. Right? And his mother was a police officer. He was in a taxi in Montego Bay. And I'm not certain what happened, but it's like the taxi stopped, and some men, gunmen, ran down on the taxi. And as my friend was exiting the taxi, because the gunmen were targeting the taxi driver, but my friend came out of the taxi at the same time when the gunmen started to fire, and they killed him right there. Killed one of my closest friends. It hit me hard. Where them get the gun from? You think poor people can't afford to buy a gun and import gun in a Jamaica? Where them get the gun from? My bridging, another taxpayer, died of the gun. Up until recently, I did not know that it wasn't a criminal offense to import illegal firearm weapons into Jamaica. I didn't know that until recently. And I don't know if I'm shocked. I don't know if I'm shocked. Because if somebody from Florida send a barrel full of weapons or a container full of weapons to Jamaica, the government of Jamaica can't arrest the person who sent it, and cannot arrest the person who's supposed to receive it and charge them with a criminal offense for importing the fire. Them can probably give them a ticket, right? A fine, and pay a fine. If they can't pay the fine, them spend 4 months in a prison. But it is not a criminal. I don't want a felony. I don't want a criminal offense. That's why you find they keep doing it over and over and over and over again. I always wonder why nobody's getting arrested. Why is nobody getting arrested for these barrels and containers of guns coming into the country? And now I understand there are no laws here to prosecute it. But you see, if the person that's supposed to collect the firearm does collect it and the police catches them, they can charge them for illegal possession of a firearm. But so long as the gun is not in their hand, you can't charge them. A year apart, when my brethren died, there was an incident in downtown Kingston, where a 3-year-old, I think it's a 2 or 3-year-old, they killed a 2-3-year-old execution style. You angry yet? They took the gun, put the gun point blank at this 3-year-old's head and fired it and killed a 3-year-old. You angry yet? Because I am angry. And it is this anger that's allowing me to do this video right now. And why I joined the UIC and why I lent the UIC my help, my services, my expertise, and why the UIC has to win the next general election, because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of it. We see a next video the other day with a lady, come on, it was a Jamaica Gleaner video, and she was talking about her son. Her son was maybe I think 10-year-old or something like that. He was playing football. It was in Waltham area. Was playing football, and some man drive by and start fire shot, and the little boy died. Like, listening to the mother, you feel like, I don't know, you feel the pain when me I feel. Do Jamaicans feel this pain when a mother lose them child, when a father lose them child, when somebody lose them brother, them sister, them mother? You feel that pain there? Because I feel it every single day, and I'm tired. Listening to everything that's going on. It affects my mental health in a brethren. It affects it. And these are things we need to deal with and get under control if Jamaica is to be a better place, if Jamaica is to become that global elite nation that we're talking about. Let me see like what Paulette is saying right here. Because talking about it, me kind of like me heated right now. Me heated, trust me. So Paulette says, I have a pet peeve. We the people need to take back our power from the government system. They only can help us to a point. We the people are responsible for the change to change. It has to start at home. Paulette, you are correct. It is up to every single individual. It's up to you and I to implement this change. The thought that government is the answer is wrong. Government isn't the answer. We are the answer, the people, the individual. We are the answer, brethren. The only thing we need is for government to get out of the way and to have common sense laws. You know, a common sense law that importing illegal firearms into the country should be a criminal offense. We're supposed to extradite people from the US to come answer for crimes of Jamaica. What kind of madness? Jamaica is a real place? Is it a real place? We cannot extradite somebody from the US or from Colombia or from wherever it is where they want to import a weapon. We cannot extradite them to Jamaica and charge them with a criminal offense. We cannot do it because it's not illegal. Can you believe it? Cernet says, but it's a criminal offense to not to wear a mask or practice social distances. something is really wrong with the government. I am very certain I am angry as well, Bridget. Very, very angry. And steaming right now because, as I said before, our children in Jamaica are experiencing things that they shouldn't have to experience. You shouldn't have to run from thief. You shouldn't have to have a knife to defend yourself. You shouldn't have to run up and down on the streets while school are going, or wipe down windshield. You shouldn't have to suffer through abuse, having nobody to report it to. You shouldn't have to look upon abuse every single day. Like, how? Why? All right. For people just tuning in, my name is Devon. I'm the vice president of the UIC, the United Independence Congress, and we plan to challenge the JLP government in the next general election because we're bringing in a system that will empower the individual, a system that will empower Jamaicans. You know, we're trying to get rid of this colonial system that's not working for us. Right? Our system will have a president and 3 vice presidents. We're gonna have the parish senators. We're gonna have our members of parliaments, but they're all going to be directly elected by the people of Jamaica. Okay, you won't find that the people of Jamaica are going to be electing MPs, and then the MPs are going to be appointed to government positions by the prime minister or by the governor general. Okay, under the UIC system, the citizenship can nominate somebody to be president, to be vice president, or to be a member of parliament. Okay, and then once you nominate this person to become a public official or politician, then they can vote for that person in a general election, and these people will have equal access to media in the campaign. So you won't find that a political party or individual who has more money than one will get more of the attention. Okay, they all have the same ability or the same access to debate in government elections, right? Yeah, I'm kind of like talking about this anytime I talk about some of the issues faced in Jamaica, like the healthcare system with people dying, and crime with people dying, and corruption. I get very emotional, and I do get very angry talking about it. It does shake me up a little bit, you know. I see Winston Wright saying something here. Jaws of life on the open market is $7,000 just over $1 million Jamaican dollar, and Jamaica lost 738 million USD to corruption each year. Let's do the math. Jamaica loses 738 million $US every year due to corruption. And Winston just posted a link. And I like when people do this. Post the link and post information, because then we can click on the link and then we can know that it's true. So 738 million divided by 7065. So Jamaica, with the $738 million them lose last year due to corruption, could have bought 104,000 jars of life. 104,000 jars of life. How many fire truck them can buy? How many hospital bed them can buy? Upon Bustamante Hospital for children. Them not stop beg. Beg. My beg people to help them. But yet the Bustamante Hospital for Children is a public institution owned by the government. And the government can't find no money to expand Bustamante Hospital for Children. Can't find the money for add beds. You're not angry. Me not think you're not angry. Because if you be angry like me, if you be pissed off like me, you know would have out there and you not act. You will be holding the government accountable and tell them, say, yo, no, this can't work. We're done. We're tired of this. If you're angry like me, You'd have joined the UIC. If you're angry like me, you'd have start your own political party. If you're angry like me, you'd have become an independent excuse me, independent candidate for the election. Or you'd have find one support them. If you're angry like me, you would have never support JLP and PNP, the people who oversee the system that's been destroying the lives and killing so many Jamaican people, who at University Hospital of West Indies has been charged with medical criminal negligence for the amount of people that have died as a result of negligence in the healthcare system. How many? Not a single one. We never hear about a doctor or a nurse or one of them public institutions here I get charged for negligence. Never have I ever. And of them people here, someone want to support. Virgin, you're angry like me. But nothing couldn't angry like me. Winston post something more. One, a used fire truck is $250,000. So 738 million divided by $250,000. Jamaica could have buy 295 fire truck with the amount of money it lose every year due to corruption. Listen, you see this 738 million US dollar? A life, you know? It is life and death. Because for the government to bleed so much money that could be used, that it could be using to protect life in Jamaica. That's why so many of us are dying, you know. We are dying because of this $738 million and everything tied to it. That's why we are dying. That's why the young lady died at the university hospital recently. That's why Jody and Ferran died while at Andrew's Memorial. That's why so many others died in our healthcare system, because of this 738 million US dollar that the government is losing every single year. We could have buy 295 ambulance and how much thousands of jars of life and how much thousands of hospital bed. How much Winston, how much the government recently said that they're spending on the public defender. Is it the public defender or is it the prosecutor? Is it 300 and something million? Somebody please remind me. How much millions of dollars is the government of Jamaica spending right now on the prosecutor's office? Is it at 30 million or 300 million? I cannot remember, right? But I think it's $300 million. See, for renovate. To renovate. Somebody please fact check me. Is it $300 million? I don't want to spread misinformation. Fact check me, please. How much money is the government of Jamaica spending right now? Spending right now on the prosecutors building. Nobody. But anyway, this amount of money that they're spending in the Virgin could go towards them quote-unquote public healthcare system. But here we go on. Here's the thing. Even if the government had that $738 million, or even if they invested that 300 million Jamaican dollars, so the 738 million is USD, the 300 million Jamaican dollar, if they had that money and invested it into the healthcare system, the money still wastes, because you don't have no accountability. And chances are the amount of money that the government is going to spend to use the money to fix the hospital system might be more than the cost of the hospital system, because the amount of people we have to pay to get involved in the situation. Mr. Winston just post something now. A hospital bed costs $1,260 US. So 1,260. Jamaica can buy 585,714 hospital bed every single year. And you gonna tell me, say, you gonna look at me and tell me, say, the government is doing the best it can. That is ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous. It is not doing the best it can. Because it is bleeding money, left, right, and center money that could be used to save lives. Save lives of car accident victims. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry for calling the Lord name in vain, but Winston just fact-checked me a while ago. The office of the Director of Public Prosecutor is to be renovated and expanded at a cost of over $626 million. Jesus. 626 million Jamaican dollars to renovate the office of the director's building. You angry yet? You're not angry like me. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because you see, if you're angry like me, you join the UIC, you join the United Independence Congress, and you help us to take the government of Jamaica away from the JLP and from the PNP, because they're the ones that are overseeing this ridiculous system, spending $626 million on the prosecutor building when the hospital now have enough bed for save an asthma patient. What can Jamaica? It is time to stand up. It's time to stand up and speak out. Okay? Stand with the UIC. Stand with the United Independence Congress. We need you there because we're tired of it. We're tired of people dying for no reason at all. For no good reason. To add to the fact that parts of Jamaica is a war zone. To add to that fact, when them go to hospital with a bullet wound or a stab wound, them are go dead. They're going to die because the hospital now have no bed. They not have enough nurse. They not have enough doctor. They not have enough space. They not have enough equipment. And the doctors them cannot say anything. They cannot speak out. Because if they speak out, it is the problem. So Winston just dropped a next one for me a while ago. The government of Jamaica is, I don't know if they bought it yet, $50 million for a new parliament building. I ask you a question. Did you pay taxes to the government of Jamaica to spend $626 million Jamaican dollars on the DPP's office? Did you? I want comment, leave a comment, yes or no. Did you pay taxes for the government of Jamaica to spend $626 million on the renovations of the DPP's office? Did you pay taxes so the government could spend $50 million on a new parliament building instead of the healthcare system, the fire truck, the ambulance, the jaws of life, the education system, our security apparatus? Did you spend money for them to invest in a building instead of those things that could be potentially saving their life? That's why so much people run from Jamaica, you know. They run. Them not run because you cannot be economically successful in Jamaica. Of course you can. Jamaica. Listen, there are so many opportunities in Jamaica. You wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. But you see, because of the lack of access to healthcare and the dangers when it comes to crime and corruption and extortion, people run, brethren. Run like thief. But you can't wrong them. Can you wrong them? Can you wrong people from running from a system like that? But I guarantee you that if the healthcare system is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and if the security apparatus or Ministry of Health or JDF or JCF is doing what they're supposed to be doing, for economic systems doing what it's supposed to be doing, our education system is doing what it's supposed to be doing, people wouldn't be running leave Jamaica. In fact, people will be running to Jamaica, and then we would have visa visa for Americans and visa for Canadians and visa for the British, and say if you don't want to come to Jamaica, you need a visa. If you don't want to come to Jamaica to work, you need a work visa. If you need to come to Jamaica to live, you need to apply for permanent residency. And you know, you might not get it because there are lots of people ahead of you. That's the kind of that Jamaica's supposed to be in a bridging. We live on a beautiful island. You ever drive across Jamaica before from Portland all the way to the grill? And you look left and you look right. Or if you drive on the north coast, what a beautiful island. You think people want their Canada and not a US in a snow or freeze? You think the people like that? Some people there in New York or work 3-4 jobs. You think them like it? Them not like it. But them have to run because them know say them have a better chance of living and succeeding. Which part of them they are work a slave over 4 or 5 jobs than if them they are Jamaica. Because some of them are leave from serious situations, you know. Paulette, let's see what Paulette is saying. My family member left Jamaica to get help in the United States because the Jamaican healthcare system has failed so many. So we the people must do something about it. There is enough rich people in Jamaica, and the ones who live overseas, who left Jamaica and live in a lavish lifestyle, can do better to help. Paulette, I agree with you. But here's the thing. Jamaicans living abroad are not required to help. They are not required to help. Sure, it would be nice. You know, it would be nice to donate to some charities. You know, it would be nice to influence the politics of Jamaicans towards the positive. For example, donating to the UIC, joining the UIC as a diaspora member, a member of the diaspora, right, and helping the UIC to make Jamaica a better place. Many have joined the JLP and the PNP. Many in the diaspora have joined the JLP and the PNP with the intention of helping Jamaica. But unfortunately, the JLP and the PNP has failed them over and over and over again. So them tired bridging, them tired Paulette. Them don't know what to do. They don't know what to do anymore. Like they give up. Like, what more can I do? What more can we do? What more can they do? What they can do is to join the UIC, donate to the UIC, and help the UIC take this government from the uncaring JLP and the uncaring PNP. Kevin says 50 people die per day from cardiovascular related illnesses. How many people are dying per day due to COVID-19? Can somebody answer me? What is it, like 3, 4, 5? Kevin, that stat that he gave me, is that in Jamaica or is that in the US? Kevin said, what a day would it be if foreigners needed visa to come to Jamaica? That more I say, Kevin. That more I say. Get a visa to come to Jamaica. Okay? Winston Wright says all the government members go Miami, New York, and London for healthcare. So they need to fix healthcare. The Prime Minister kids go to school in the US, so you know education here is crappy. They're not invested in fixing the problem. I am, because I choose to keep my kids here. I have to fix this. Winston says, yeah. Winston, right in the comment section that you see right now, is one of the vice presidents for the United Independence Congress. He's there, right there in Jamaica, you know, using his time away from his family to help the UIC, to bring in this system to help Jamaicans. Winston is not there to enrich himself and engage in a corruption. You see, if the UIC or members of the UIC wanted to engage in corruption or wanted to enrich themselves, then would have joined the JLP and the PNP. Anybody who wants to go into politics to enrich themselves, you join the JLP and the PNP, and you will be rich. Okay? But when you join the UIC, don't expect none of that, because the UIC is about stamping out corruption. We don't play favorites. You want to come to us as a corporate donor and say, hey, UIC, I'm going to donate to you. I'm going to donate 50 million US dollars to you. Only if you create this policy that favors my business. The UIC is rejecting that 50 million US dollars. We don't want it. We don't want it. Because we're not in this to enrich ourselves or in this to engage in corruption. We don't want it. But you see, if you're going to give us that $50 million to say, hey, UIC, I want you to use this money, win the election, and then when you win, you create a fair and free market so that every individual and every business has equal opportunity to succeed. Bring the 50 million US dollar, come on, we will take it. And we will win the election, and we will create a true free economy, a real new Jamaica, a non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica. Right? Politicians in Jamaica send them kids and family members to hospital in Miami, send them kids to school in US, and all them place to when them sick. But we stuck with this murderous healthcare system. Yes, it is murderous. What happened to that young lady that had asthma? That is negligent homicide. Murder, negligent homicide, and somebody needs to go to jail for that. Kevin said the healthcare system is in need of a burn unit. So we don't even have a burn unit. One person died from COVID every 1 to 3 days. Is that in Jamaica, Kevin? See, Jamaica don't have a burn unit. I say Winston did post somewhere earlier, but I don't see it. Let me see. Anyway, Jamaica, are you angry? Are you as angry as I am? If you are, you go to www.uicjamaica.com right now. I'm going to show you. Okay? I am going to show you. I'm going to pop it up right now, and I'm going to show you what to do. All right? This is the UIC's website, uicjamaica.com. So you see this button right here, UIC membership and donation. I want you to click it. Click that button, UIC membership and donation. Okay? It says here that we're gonna need 63 representatives, 228 council representatives, because we're also challenging the local elections. We're gonna need 6,200 polling division supervisors, so we can create that one Jamaica. We have 3 membership types. You can become a donor and donate a minimum of 10 Canadian dollars. It's right here on the left, in the blue. In the red, you can be a UIC member and donate a $10 per month recurring fee, minimum, right, to become a UIC member. And you can be a UIC supporter. So, if you don't have the money right now to become a member, you can be a supporter. You can sign up here, click the sign up button, and you have the ability to run as a UIC MP candidate, UIC councillor candidate. You can join our private UIC meetings. And you can voluntarily make one-time or recurring donation without becoming a member of the UIC, right? If you become a UIC member, you can do all those things as a UIC supporter. But in addition to that, you can become a member of the executive, right? So whatever you want to do, if you want to donate $10, if you want to donate $20, whatever it is, come over here, click the donate button under this blue line here to donate to the UIC. In the red, you want to become a member. Under the red, just click sign up. If you want to be a supporter, click sign up. If you're angry, you're going to go to this web page right now. Go to this web page, click UIC membership and donation, and sign up with the UIC. You want to know more about the UIC? Click the About Us button. We talk about the vision, the mission, and we show you the old system of governance right here, and then we show you the new system of governance. If you want to see the UIC manifesto, you go to the top and you click our UIC, our manifesto. Okay? A real new Jamaica. Okay? And you see our manifesto here. You scroll down, you see different aspects of it and look at the future of Jamaica. All right. At the bottom here, we talk about a representative government, a non-partisan constitutional republic. Right. We're counting down to the days of the election when the election is due. 1,064 days, around that. So it's around 1,000 days before the next election is due. Okay. So if you're angry like me, you go to uicjamaica.com, check out the About Us page, check out our manifesto, check out our UIC membership and donation page. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. Again, my name is Devon Thompson. I'm the UIC's Vice President for Middlesex, and I am here to ensure that the UIC becomes government in the next general election and creates a non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica. Thanks for watching.